Hi, I'm back, and this one frightened even me a little bit. But I think that's because I'm easily scared. Today, we're talking about three quotes to learn from Old Hague or Old Higue, depending on which part of the Caribbean you're from, by McWatt. My name is Ray, and I teach English. Let's get into this one. So, this is the poet McWatt. He is of Guyanese birth and ancestry, I would imagine. So Mr. Mark McWatt is responsible for writing the poem, but as you would know, as I teach in all of the classes, writing the poem is one thing. That doesn't make him the voice in the poem. And the voice in this poem is significant because the person who is speaking in this poem is a mythical folklore character common to the Caribbean. In Trinidad and Tobago, we call her the Sukuya, and we know this as an old woman by day, but a ball of fire that flies around villages at night, sucking people's blood. When you study the poem, you'll see why I would have had significant trouble selecting only three quotations that you should learn or that you should aim to memorize, because this one is power packed. But the three that I eventually settled on are three that focus a lot on sensory imagery, and they focus on the continuity of this folklore character and her role in the Caribbean community. The first one that I like is burning myself out like cane fire to frighten the foolish. That's a question, and it's a rhetorical question that the old he is asking, because as far as she is concerned, why would anybody want to be cursed in the way that she has been cursed? And she starts the poem by asking, "You think I like this stupidness? Gallivanting all night without skin, burning myself out like cane fire to frighten the foolish?" So she is giving us a visual image of burning canes, which is a reminder of the Caribbean's past. And it's a prominent symbol in all of the islands across the Caribbean because, of course, when we were colonized, most of us by the British, sugarcane was an agricultural product that required burning to be cleared. The thing about sugarcane is that it has a very pungent smell when burnt. And so this ties in both the visual imagery of the burning canes, which are very, very bright, distinctive, and hard to miss. And it also shows us the olfactory imagery, which, as you know, is imagery which is appealing to the sense of smell. And of course, burning myself out like cane fire is a simile. So, as I always tell you, you want your quotations to be multifaceted. You want them to be able to do more than one thing at a time so that you have the best outcomes and impact. The next one that I like takes us to another aspect of sensory imagery. And this one, quote 2, is talking about the pain of salt. Now, if you have a wound and you rub salt into that wound, it's going to be very painful. The thing about the old Higo, the Sukuya in the Trinidad and Tobago aspect of the culture is that if you want to stop this woman from harassing the community again, you have to find her skin, which she peels off in order to transform into this ball of fire. You find that skin and you rub salt into that skin, it's going to burn and she won't be able to climb back into the skin as the sun is beginning to rise for daylight. So, the quote that I'm pointing you to says, "And don't even talk about the pain of salt and having to bend these old bones down to count 1,000 grains of rice." So, in this one, what she's saying is that I don't like this flying about for another reason. I don't like the fact that people are constantly trying to rub salt into my skin while I am off doing what I have to do during the night. And I also don't like the fact that whenever I come to people's homes, in order to keep me out of their homes or to stall my efforts, to sabotage my movement, what they do is they sprinkle salt or they sprinkle rice grains in front of their homes, in front of their doorways. And what I have to do is I have to count these grains of rice. Now, if you look at the falling rice here, and you have to stop and pick up these rice grains and you have to count these rice grains, you can imagine that it's going to take you quite some time. The folklore legend is that she cannot drop any of the grains and she cannot lose count. She can't lose the memory of her count. If she loses memory of the count, she's going to have to start over from number one. So that is why she is absolutely disgusted by the fact that she's the one that has to feel the tactile imagery of feeling the pain of the salt and the feeling of the bending of her bones for a very old woman who's cursed and who can't even necessarily die because she's immortal. This is an extremely challenging curse that she has been given. She has to live out. My third quotation has to do with motherly love. And in this quotation, we're thinking about the fact that mothers really do sacrifice a lot of themselves to ensure that their children are happy and that their children live. The quote that I like says, "As long as it have women giving birth, a poor old he like me can never dead." And what it makes me think about is the fact that many women challenge and they struggle with having to put aside their hurts, their pain, their weariness, their fatigue, their tiredness, their frustrations for their families. And some women are really so challenged mentally, their mental health is so challenged that they struggle with feelings of severe depression. And some of them even consider doing the unthinkable to their own babies. And I'm sure that your language teachers, your literature teachers will be able to have a conversation with you about what that means. The old is saying, as long as women are giving birth, the cycle is going to continue because I am the scapegoat that women use, unfortunately, for some of the things that enter their own heads. Well, this has been 3 quotes that you should learn for Mark McWatt's Old Higue or Old Higue, depending on where you are in the Caribbean. I'm Ray and I teach English. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Take care for now. Bye.